For me, I think give Arteta one more season. If he doesn't win the Champions League or the Premier League in that season, then yes, get rid of him. Welcome back to the Arsenal Humans podcast with me, Luce. I hope you're all doing good. I'm doing pretty good. I feel like this week it's been a little bit of a mixed one. Not going to lie, I feel like that's sort of been my intro for the last few weeks, definitely. It is the end of the WSL, the end of the Champions League for the men's side. So all we've now got left pretty much are a couple of Premier League games for the men's side and then the final for the women's side. So, of the Champions League, obviously. Need to specify that one. So I feel like, there's things to look forward to. There's a lot of reflection going on right now. I feel like people are reflecting on the whole season, which I'm not going to do right now. I'm just going to reflect on the WSL game that's just happened against United in this episode. But next week, I'm going to fill in the women's side, talk all about the whole season as a whole. And then obviously with the men's, we can do that then in a few weeks' time. But I feel like, there's a lot of reflections with the men's side as well. A lot of question marks around certain players, certain individuals like Arteta. I feel like he's been on everyone's mouths, whether he should be in, he should be out. Is Arteta good enough for Arsenal? All these sort of debates are going on, and that's exactly what I'm basing my warm-up poll on, so let's get into that now. Okay, so simply put, I did this week's warm-up poll as Arteta in or Arteta out, and getting straight to the results, 76% of you said Arteta should stay at Arsenal, but 24% of you said, nah, get him out. And to be fair, I'm going to have to agree with the majority once again. I do feel like, yes, it's not been good enough this season. We had the chance to progress in competitions, which, maybe we should have won some. I think Champions League is obviously the biggest European competition. It is like winning it is so hard. I can't even get my words out. I just feel like, it's a tough competition. I don't think we were going into that competition were ready. I thought out of the two, if any team was going to succeed, out of the two Arsenal ones, I was like, it's got to be the women's side because our team structure looked more solid, if that makes sense. And I do think obviously that comes down to us not having a striker. Yes, people are now looking to Edu and blaming him because the new directors come in and it looks like change is happening. Obviously, I'll get into that more once all the fixtures are done, because I feel like when we get all these transfer rumours now, I don't want to know until they're actually signed with the club. I feel like social media just causes all these rumours. The season's not even done yet and we're already looking ahead. So I feel like in terms of that, I'm going to relax a bit, but it does seem promising. For me, I think give Arteta one more season. If he doesn't win the Champions League or the Premier League in that season, then yes, get rid of him. But I feel like it's just a bit unfair if we get rid of him now, because there hasn't been a lot on his side. I know he has a say in the player signings, and obviously there hasn't been a striker, but I do feel like what he's done with the club, like he's done well considering when he first joined, where Arsenal were like not, kind of mid-table, like a little bit above that, and now where he's progressed us to that we're constantly the last few seasons in the top three. And yes, I know there is no medal, there's no prize, no trophy, no silverware at all for coming second, because you're the first loser, as some people like to put it. But for me, I think it's good to see us progressing year on year, but it is getting to the point now where it's like, right, are we going to win silverware? Are we not? So I definitely do think this time next year, if we're not with a Champions League trophy or a Premier League trophy, then yes, we've got to think, right, let's get a new manager. But I do think the issues are more of the players right now, because there's so many injuries. I'm going to get into the Newcastle game at the end, but as I was doing my research, looking at the predictions of who's available to play, there's literally like no one available to play. And obviously we don't even have a striker, and the players that do sub in as a striker, like player, if that makes sense, they're basically all out anyways, for various reasons, injuries, red cards, you name it. We're going to get into all of that in this episode, but I do think, Arteta to stay for now. For now being the key phrase. It's a temporary fix for the next season, and then unless there's big change, I don't even think the FA Cup or the League Cup will cut it. He's got to win a big trophy. I mean, all trophies are big, don't get me wrong, but he's got to win either Champions League or Premier League to stay, in my opinion anyways. Let me know if you guys agree with that. I feel like it is sort of a debate that's been going around. It's been going around the whole season pretty much, and it's come back again because obviously we got knocked out of the Champions League, which is fair enough that it's going back around. So let me know down in the comments below whether you agree or not. But without me going over and over the same conversation of Arteta, which you guys are probably bored if you follow Arsenal quite religiously like I do. It's probably been your whole feed right now, this debate. So let's actually get into the game and reflect on the game as a whole, but also what it means for us, as well as the two other games, which, not the worst results. So let's get into that now. Okay, so the week started off with PSG 2, Arsenal 1. And that means it was 3-1 on aggregate, which obviously meant our time in the Champions League was over for the men's side anyways. I did predict it to be 3-1. I mean, going into the game, I was like, we're probably not going to win it. We're probably not going to win it. But I thought, what a better place to manifest than on my podcast. And now it just makes me look really delusional. So I feel like I probably should have, tried to stick a little bit of realism in there. But I did think there could be a chance. I mean, we did it with Real Madrid. Like, we went up by obviously a few goals to then go away to them, and then that's how obviously we ended up reaching the semi-finals against PSG. But I did think there was that hope. There were a lot of chances, but if I'm being completely honest, it's not PSG that kicked Arsenal out of the Champions League. It is Donnarumma. He single-handedly saved pretty much all of our best chances. I think we had about 3 or 4 that would have gone in with any other keeper, but he was just stopping them like there's no tomorrow. So honestly, hats off to him. I do feel like, yes, PSG did deserve it. I feel like there's been some delusional comments after being like Arsenal were the best team in the Champions League. Well, we weren't, obviously, because if we were the best team in the Champions League, we would still be in the Champions League. So for me, I was like, I don't understand where the logic's coming from. I think we had a good run. I think it shows a lot of progress. Obviously, it was 2-1 on the night, which saw us leave the competition, exit that competition. Saka did score for us, which was good. And then later on, he did have a chance pretty much. Should have buried it, but it obviously just went flying into the stands. I think, their goals were pretty crazy. Right, obviously saved a pen. A lot happened in that game, but what does it actually mean for us now? Which is what I want to focus on more. Obviously, it means that there's no Champions League, which kind of then makes you look at the league, the Premier League, and think, oh, okay, so the fact that we didn't even progress to win silverware, we should have just put all our eggs into the Premier League basket. But I mean, when we were competing in like the quarters, the semi-finals, finals, we actually thought we had a chance, which, you know what, we actually did have a good chance. Like, it wasn't completely delusional to think that we could have got through to the final. And I do feel like it will be an interesting final. I do just think what this has highlighted is that we need a striker. I know we have some makeshift strikers at Arsenal, but we just need that striker. And this is going to be a constant reoccurring thing until it changes. We have 2 games left of the Premier League for this season, and then we've got the whole of summer to look for that striker. I mean, there's a few names. Comment down below who you'd want to see, because I know there's a few names. I'll get into that in a few weeks' time when hopefully we start signing some of these players. But I do feel like it did highlight that. It wasn't a bad run for us. I think people are very negative because we're out of the competition. Don't get me wrong, I was gutted because I thought, oh, imagine we're going to have both Arsenal men and Arsenal women in the final of the Champions League. I was buzzing for that. I was getting really excited, but it just wasn't meant to be. But we progressed really far, and it's good to see the progression we've been making under Arteta, which, going back to the warm-up poll, is why I think we still should have him. But at this point, progress isn't being rewarded with silverware. So that's where the issue is, I think, with a lot of Arsenal fans, and with me included. I'd love to see us lift a trophy. So I'm hoping the women can do that in a couple of weeks' time. But in terms of that game, not really too much else to say. They just came out the better side. Anyways, moving on to the last game of the WSL, which literally happened like 2 days ago. I'm filming this quite early this week because I was like, there's not too many games to look ahead to, but I thought we'd reflect as soon as we can because it's fresh in my mind. I was at the WSL game. Good attendance, to be fair. It was like 46,000, and it was such a sunny day, good vibes. I mean, it was actually so sunny. Like, I ended up burning just like half of my arm, basically, because we were in the tea, and then I was out in the evening, and it kind of looked a little bit dodge, like what is them drumstick squashies, where it's like white and then just pink. So it didn't look the best. So I wore like a shirt over, but minor details. But anyways, it was a very good game. I think if you're in neutral, it was such a good game. Obviously, the score was 4-3. I don't think, wait, did I even say the score at the start of this section? Arsenal 4, Man United 3. So this game had a lot riding on it. And by a lot, I mean, we both secured Champions League spot for next season. And obviously, if Arsenal do win in the final, we've then automatically gone through. But now this is just a security blanket for us, knowing that we don't have to play that month of games trying to qualify for the Champions League, which, if we look back a few seasons ago, that messed up our whole season. We ended up going out to Paris who not many people had heard of because it was quite a small team. So that was quite a humbling experience. Also, the Euros this year, the final takes place, which we'd love to see as many players in our squad play in, obviously. And then 3 days later, the qualifying rounds will start. I'm pretty sure. Something like that. So basically, it's just good that now United will have to go through that process and we won't. In terms of the game itself, Chloe Kelly scored in the second minute. Chloe Kelly was the player of the match and completely agree with it. She also got assists later on. Caldente got a penalty. I feel like she's really taken on that role. You can see the transition is ready for when Kim Little goes, when she sadly inevitably will leave in a couple seasons' time, if not end of this season. I mean, to be fair, looking ahead to the Champions League final, if I lifted that trophy, I'd be like, yeah, that's me done. That's my legacy created. Little's legacy will be done. I'd be like, yeah, I'm off. Because there's nothing else she can do for the club. She's basically got all the silverware she can apart from that, so that would be unreal from her. Focusing back on the game though, yeah, Caldente's penalty, I have full faith in her. I feel like she's the new Kim Little when it comes to penalty taking. Mornham scored, and then obviously Little did. Toon did make it 1-1 at one point, and Turland and Maya Leticia did score in the 70th and the 76th minute. But obviously it wasn't enough because Kim Little got hers literally at the hour mark. And we were 4-1 up at one point. I don't know how we managed to get it to 4-3, but luckily it didn't go all the way to 4-4. So yeah, as I said, this basically means we end the season on a high. I'm very impressed that we've done that and we've managed to secure second spot. Obviously, the men is looking a bit questionable whether we'll be able to do that. But with the women's, I did say a couple of weeks ago, I was like, if we don't get second, then I have no idea what has gone wrong, because we did have that little dip in form. But this game has given me so much confidence. Might be delusional, but right now I just feel like it is. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good in the side. Like, we know we can find that net. We know we can also concede goals, which is obviously a little bit concerning, but we can find that net. Talking about conceding goals though, it's actually a positive spin on it. I'm very impressed with Zinsberger. I feel like the amount of criticism she's received recently, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know she's not our number one keeper. Our number one keeper is DVD, but Zinsberger, and I've said it on here before, I've said it on the Diamond Show, which is a WSL podcast I do as part of the Blue Podcast Network, so check that out if you want to. What I do over there, I remember saying, and we all agreed on the panel, that basically, yes, she's not good enough in the first spot, but she's too good to be a second choice keeper. And I think her performance on Saturday 100% proved that. It was so nice to see the crowd backing her. Every time she saved a shot, collected the ball up, anything, every time she was basically in and around, everyone was cheering her, and it was really good to see, because I feel like it's been really sad to see recently on social media how upset she's looking at the end of the games. I don't agree with all the people trolling her and stuff. I think social media can be such a toxic place. Like, fair enough, you can have your opinion that she's maybe not good enough, but leave it at that. You don't need to go personal and you don't need to record. And I think that's where it gets a little bit much, social media, because social media can be such a good, positive place, but then moments like this happen and you just target a player, which obviously I don't agree with. But I think, yeah, it's just important to highlight Zinsberg, because I do feel like she had a good game, and I do feel like this could be one of her last games with Arsenal, or certainly her last game this season, as I do feel like if Daphne Van Domselaar is fit, she will be playing in that final. But yeah, it was just really encouraging to see her have a good performance and get the support. I mean, I've always said, I remember saying a few years ago how I just love how she's such a hype woman, at the back, getting the crowd going, which is what she was doing on Saturday, so it was just really good to see. Moving on to the final game, which did happen yesterday, feels very fresh in my mind. Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2. I did predict it to be a 2-1 win, quite optimistic from me. But I'm actually just impressed that we managed to turn it around. They went 2-0 up quite early on. Gakpo basically scored, and he was literally unmarked. And then Diaz got the second one. Martinelli got a header, and Marino also headed. Basically, it was like Erdegaard's shot, and then it rebounded, and then he headed it in. To get the equaliser, which made it 2-2. But this was around the 70th minute. So Marino's just scored in the 70th minute. Fast forward 9 minutes. He's already on a yellow at this point. He decides to slide in. Fine. It was whatever. Didn't get the ball, but it was fine. Then suddenly, it felt like how I play on FIFA. Like, if anyone's seen me play on FIFA, I'm very sorry, because it's very humbling. I'm too competitive to be that bad at FIFA. But I basically would just slide. Like, if I'm getting frustrated, I would literally just be sliding around the whole pitch, so late. And that is literally what Marino did. He literally just slid in 5 seconds late, didn't get the ball, didn't get anything, to be fair. Got the player. I think that's pretty much all he got. So got his second yellow, which, you can't really argue with. I mean, I love how players always go up to the ref and argue, but I'm like, we've seen it. We've got VAR. We've got everything. Like, we can see that. So sadly, he did get taken off, but at least he scored for us. It does mean that our future games are looking a bit risky up top, but it's fine. It is fine. Overall, this draw, it's not the result we wanted. We needed a win to secure Champions League spot, basically, because it means we're in second with 68. Newcastle are just below us with 66. Then City have 65. And then Chelsea have 63. So we have to basically, we have to at least get 1 point in the next 2 games, which isn't too bad. But then that could drop us right down to 5th if we get just 1 point, if that makes sense. So we basically need to, we have to get, actually, it could work out. I think my maths has been a bit poor here. I feel like basically we need to win at least one of the next 2 games, ideally win both. Because if we don't get Champions League, that would be so humbling, especially after how far we just progressed in the competition, and how we've been second for the whole season. Ideally, obviously, second spot should be ours. And I feel like the game coming up at the weekend is actually quite a big test because we will be facing Newcastle, who obviously, as I just said, are sat just below us. But I do feel like, yeah, it wasn't the result we wanted, but considering if you said to me after 30 minutes we'd actually end up drawing, I'd be like, I'd take that. Going into the game, obviously, I thought we'd win, but after watching 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'll take that draw. So not the best week. Okay, perfect. Moving on to the predictions. This week, it's actually really weird. We've only got 1 game because obviously the women's next game is in the final of the Champions League, which happens on the 24th of May against Barca. So I'm buzzing for that. On a quick one, actually, where are you guys watching it if you're in London? Because like many other people, I was trying to get flights, and flights are like £700 just for the day. I work, so I'm going to be working like the day before and then a couple of days after, so I can't be taking a few days off, basically. Also, I don't really have the funds to do that anyways, because then I'm like, oh, flights are cheaper, but then you're paying for a com, and then you've got to pay for like what you're doing out there, and as much as I'd love to be out there, I just can't. So I'm going to be in London with a few of my besties, which will be cute. So I'm excited about that one. But yeah, let me know what the vibe is, because I feel like a lot of posters, a lot of things I'm seeing on Instagram right now are popping up, and yeah, I want to know what the vibe. I'm assuming a pub in like North London is probably where it's at, and I'm sure that there's so many fans. Like, I think I'm just seeing from social media, this is really random, but I think I'm just seeing on social media, everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to Lisbon, yeah, I'm going, and I'm like, what? Like, is everyone actually going? And then I looked at the stadium on Saturday, and I was like, there was about 46,000 people, and I was like, surely not every single person here can go to Lisbon, obviously not. So then I was like, there's going to be so many people still based in London. So if you're like me, you're for whatever reason not able to access, or it's not affordable, or for whatever reason you're not going out to Lisbon, there's going to be places. I think we should come together and figure out where we're going, because yeah, I really want to just have a good vibe, and I feel like there is a bit of hope. There's a little bit of hope, but I'll obviously get more into the prediction side of that game next week. But yeah, as I said, for this week, there's actually only 1 game. It is the men in the Premier League. It's Arsenal versus Newcastle happening on Sunday, so I'm looking ahead like 6 days. So the things I'm predicting right now, they could kind of change by then. But just because I've got a busy week, I was like, I might as well predict it now, and then can reflect on that game next week, and then look ahead to the last 2 games of the season before all the summer friendlies, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of sad it's all coming to an end, but that's life. That's how football works. So going into this game, you wouldn't think really on paper, you're like, yeah, they're 2 good sides, like not too much riding on it. Actually, second spot is up for grabs, and security of Champions League is also up for grabs because of that. So because, like I said in the Let's Chat section, Newcastle are only 2 points behind us in third. So if they win, they obviously overtake us. If they draw, we stay on top. And if we win, we obviously then secure Champions League and stay on top. So that is the ideal vibe. I'm going to have to predict it to be 2-1 to Newcastle, I think. I know that sounds crazy that I'm predicting Newcastle to win. I don't know why I'm smiling about that, but here's why. I did a little bit of research on the players that are actually going to be available, because I was like, surely, like, we've basically got no one who would find the net. And I'm kind of not really too wrong, because Marino's out. Obviously, he got that red, which crazy, but obviously he then got a 1-match ban, so that is this match. Havertz and Jesus have obviously been out for a while now, and they still will be out. Rice isn't actually guaranteed to play either, which is kind of crazy. Jorginho is out because he has lung issues too, so it pretty much looks like Zinchenko will have to slot in with Partey and Erdegaard in the midfield. Trossard apparently is going to be out as well, because obviously he came off in like the 78th, 79th minute. Timber is not looking too likely, and obviously Gabriel and Tomiyasu have been out for a while. So yeah, it's looking like we're missing a lot of gaps on the pitch, a lot of players that have been performing for us. I don't want us to get to the point now in the season where we're like, well, we're out the Champions League, we've only got a couple of Premier League games, we've pretty much secured Champions League. Like, we need to go out on a high, basically do what the women just did. Obviously, I know we do have a final to look forward to as well, but in the WSL, we dropped off the last like 2 games, and then suddenly the last game of the season, we came up, we showed, no, actually, let's finish how we'd want the next season to start, like on a high. And I think that's exactly what we should do. So obviously when I'm looking at all those players that are out, not only our defence, which means that we've not got our strongest defence out, so in terms of conceding goals, it's looking more likely, and especially when you look at the likes of who Newcastle have, and obviously they're on a high, they've got silverware this season, they're basically one-upped us already. Then you're looking at the attacking, and I'm like, the attacking players, I'm like, who's actually going to score for us in this game? So that is the big question. I don't like that I'm predicting a loss. I feel like I haven't really, and I don't really want this to be the tone of how I end this podcast. But sadly, it looks like that is exactly what I've just done. I'm really hoping I get proved wrong and that we end up winning this, or at least drawing this. But with the players we've got right now, it's not looking likely. I'm hoping by the time it gets to Friday, Saturday, I could go back on this and be like, actually, guys, we might win. But right now, basing my prediction off 6 days in advance, this is basically what I'm going to say. So not looking too great, but it obviously wouldn't be the end of the world because then we'd have our last game of the season, but obviously we'd rather win. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm predicting. Okay, that is the end of episode 28 of the Arsenal Humans podcast. Kind of crazy that I'm already here at this milestone. I mean, I started this back in November, so this has been going on for just over 6 months. And I'm 2 subscribers away from 400 subscribers, which for me feels like a little bit of a milestone to hit, because when I first started doing it, I was like, let's just see, like, let me just do this for a bit of fun. And then a couple months in, I was like, oh, let me set some targets. So my target is to have at least 400 subscribers, which is what I set like a month or 2 ago, to have 400 subscribers by the end of the season. Obviously, the WSL season's over, but the Premier League is not over just yet. So I'm hoping that I can get 2 more of you who I see you're viewing it, because my views are outweighing the subscriptions sometimes. So I'm seeing that more of you are viewing it. So if you like this video, please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. Comment down anything below based on what I've said in this video or about Arsenal in general, because obviously this is the Arsenal Humans podcast. Also, I've noticed I'm getting more listeners on Spotify recently, which is great to see. So I hope you're enjoying listening to this. But anyways, yeah, I hope you're good, and I will see you start of next week. It's going to be probably 7-8 days until I next do one. But yeah, I hope you're good, and hopefully Arsenal can win, and my prediction is wrong. Don't know why I even predicted that now. Oh well. See you then.